My name is Sam Halpenny, and the character I played was called Gary. The casting, if I remember rightly, it was Corinne Rodriguez, who she'd cast me in something called Open Fire beforehand, which was an early Paul Greengrass TV film, and she'd seen me for quite a few things, and I got to know her reasonably well. My agent was quite good at charming the older female casting directors, and she put me up for this. Um, and then also the fact that I knew Ross Boatman as a friend anyway, he'd said, "Oh, I'll try and have a word with them as well, see if we can get you along." So that was how I got there in the first place. When I first was cast, yeah, it was exciting because I remember going through the casting process. I think they cast it down in Jacob Street in their offices down there, and I remember dressing the part. It was kind of borrowing an old wax coat that my dad had and a little flat cap and everything. Because the character I was going up for was a bit of a ducking and diving cockney geezer. And the main thing was about the greyhound. He was a greyhound owner and a greyhound racer. So I kind of dressed as I imagined that guy would be. So yeah, I was excited to go for the casting, and then it came through. I got the job. I was like, oh, this is good fun. So, but then the problem is I didn't know anything about greyhounds. I had a dog, but I'd never had a greyhound. So I went down to Catford Dog Track, which was still in existence then, and just spent a night down there, putting some money on some bets and just watching the people. And it was stacked like a football stadium. You could all stand and just watch the dogs coming up, and there'd be about 10 races throughout the evening. So that was my kind of character preparation for that. Yeah, it was really exciting, and also knowing that I was going to be in scenes with Ross was good. So it wasn't too nerve wracking. You thought, oh, I know where I'm going. I know who I'm working with. Um, I was fine. I mean, I'd only we'd had a dog all through my childhood. We had three or four cats at various times. So I always loved animals. Still got a cat somewhere around. Um, but I never worked with close with the greyhound because obviously I'd seen him over the heath when I was walking the dog, and they're always quite nippy and fast, and loads of them were muzzled. So I was slightly wary about that. But the dog, when we actually filmed, was quite a small, very gentle little creature. It's never any trouble really. The character, like I said, he was a mechanic in his day job. So I think when I first got introduced, I'm working in the mechanic. We're working on a car, and the main thing, the character's introduction, I think, to the storyline and Kevin's storyline was to help him to mine Kevin's interest in poker, because obviously Ross Boatman was a big poker player, and then he went back after that. His kind of success on London's Burning, he went off and did a lot of poker playing with his brothers, and so I think they wanted to introduce that into the storyline, having his poker habits. So this is the way to get into it. So they introduced the idea of my character Gary having a dog, and he was an old friend, and then he ends up losing the dog in this poker game, and so I think they ended up calling it Blue Watch, and the crew called it Blue Watch, and they try to run it as a dog, a racing dog, to earn money for the watch. And then at the end, Kevin's life situation changes, so he has to come back and give it back to me. So that's a little kind of story arc of the character, really. Well, like I said, I knew him already as a friend. He grew up locally to me in Archway, and also knew him from the rock and roll scene. We were both into rock and roll at the time, rocking scene they called it. So I was familiar with him, and most all the scenes were mainly just with him. I didn't really work with any of the other crew. There are other actors around, especially in the poker scene. There was other people involved, but the focus was mainly on Kevin, the character of Kevin. So yeah, I was always felt comfortable. Ross made me feel very at ease. He introduced me to all the crew, cast and crew, and yeah, so I felt like I've been kind of being introduced into a big family, really. all the films are all the scenes. My scenes are all filmed out on location, so either out on the street, around a car, or for the poker game was on a boat on Kevin's houseboat, which was interesting. It was down, I think it was one of the down in London docks, one of the harbours down there, the old docks, um, around near Jacob's Wharf, down near on the south bank there, just past Tower Bridge. Yeah, but that was that was the funniest. Just because it was such a tiny location, the ceiling was really low. The whole crew were packed in. There was quite a big cast around the big poker table. Maybe me, Ross, and maybe three other guys, extras who were in the scene. Or they weren't extras; they had other few lines as well. But everybody was packed in, and it was all smoking away as well. So there's the whole thing with continuity cigarettes. I had a little guy next to me breaking off cigarettes every time we had to do a retake. So the cigarettes were the same length every time. So that was kind of an eye opener. He said, no, stop. Here's another broken cigarette. Another one. The place was full of smoke. That's when you could smoke indoors still. I remember it being very low. One scene, I think at one point I whacked my head on one of the beams above, and if I remember rightly, they ended up keeping it. It was like a silly outtake, so they stuck it on the end of Rat Party outtakes to we'll have a good laugh at. But it was an interesting location. Usually, I think I remember most of the time you just come in, you're there for the day, and whenever your scenes are, they'll get you in for the whole day usually, so you're around and ready, made up on costumes and everything, and then you'll shoot your scenes. If it runs over, then they'll hold you as long as they need to. But they're all day scenes, so I was just down for each day was a separate scene. Yeah, the first two with Jerry Mill directing, and then the second two is James Hazelden. Both of them charming, lovely guys. Jerry Mill was really kind afterwards. He put me onto another job in Heartbeat when he moved up there. He just out of the blue kind of called up my agent and said, "Do you want to come up and do another kind of cheeky, chappy, dodgy geezer character?" So I was really grateful for him for that. And then James Hazelden, I knew he'd been in starring in London's Burning. So then when I saw him directing behind the camera, I thought, this is good fun. So because he knew the whole setup, he knew the way the whole crew worked. There was obviously a lot of banter and winding each other up, just a really friendly atmosphere. But totally competent. They knew what they were doing. The costume, I think they wanted to show the contrast really, because most of the time I was in a boiler suit, like a mechanic's boiler suit, when I was working on the cars, and to first introduced, talking to Kevin and everything, and then when it came to the poker scene, suddenly they put me in this ridiculous, like, super flowery shirt, dodgy waistcoat, 80s kind of style, squiffed back hair and everything. So and a bit of bling, gold necklace and everything. I think they just wanted to show Gary showing off how flashy he was, even though he was just a mechanic guy working his dirty hands normally. But he turned out immaculate for the poker game. Yeah, I would have loved to have been a kind of returning character with the whole dog scenario, getting involved. I mean, most actors would love to get a bit of a regular run on, especially a good long running series like that. So yeah, and I was pleased that I came back at least those four times. But obviously, I would have loved to have had more. Well, the one, like I said, the funny one about whacking my head on the ceiling, the whole crew bursting out laughing, and then they thought, right, we'll keep that one, we'll stick that one in a can later. And it wasn't until I went to the Rat Party at the end, they had it down in Borough, just around the corner from Borough Market, in one of the old big bar down there, and they were just showing, they linked up all of the silly outtakes, all the gaffs and mess ups all the way through it, and my one was in there, so I was quite pleased I made that cut. Um, I got into it and initially. I went to university. Ended up getting a biology degree to start with. I came out at the end of that, and I'd had so much of education. I was kind of sick of it really. I'd gone all the way from school, 4 years at university because I almost got thrown out in the first year. I came out at the end and just started doing decorating, and then I got approached by a very fruity agent over in. I used to go down to Portobello Road, so in Westbourne Grove. Suddenly, this guy approached me and came up to me and said, "Would you be interested in doing some modelling?" So I thought, okay, we'll see how it goes. And it turned out that he ran this little agency and he put together little dance groups. And he said, I can get you your equity card. This was the time when you needed, if you wanted to go into the business, you needed an equity card because it was a closed shop. You couldn't work without a card. So I thought, oh, that sounds all right. I can get my card and then maybe think about getting into acting. So we did this dance group. We got the equity card very quickly, within about 9 months. And then by then, because we'd been rehearsing things like dance moves and I'd done bits of acting, and then I got interested in the idea of actually doing some proper training. I went along to City Lit at the time of doing evening classes and a summer school, so I did that for a year and a half, 2 years. And then I went to then I got the bug, so I need to do more. So then I went to the Poor School, which was based down at King's Cross. It was where you could do drama training in the evenings and weekends and still work during the daytime because I'd already used up my grant for uni. And then from there on, that was a 2 year course. I had a fantastic time. Loved it, really hard work, but really enjoyed it. And then from there, started getting, I think the first job was the bill coming out of there. Got a few of them and then just on my way for about 10 years, which was great fun. Yeah, that was with this playing. That was my first experience on set. Um, just playing a youth in the background for this agent he was called Loftus Burton. He was an actor originally, and then he set up this little agency over in North Westminster, just behind the back of Portobello Road. And he had connections. They used to film Rockless Babies all around the back of the streets in West London. So he just got us along there. And that was a night shoot, and it was great. It was just a buzz being out in a car, waiting, and then shooting, being out in the streets, filming in the middle of the night. It was really exciting. So that's one of the reasons I got kind of inspired to get into more acting. Really. Well, no, I did the acting for about. I mean, I was enjoying my acting going through for about 10 years, and then I started having a family, and then the reality of life kicked in a little bit, and I thought, oh, I need to earn some regular cash because the acting is so kind of hand to mouth freelance work. So then I retrained at the same time, trying to keep the acting going as a teacher, primary school teacher. Did my teacher training, got PGCE, and started working in the East End in Poplar in Tower Hamlets. And I worked trying to do the acting and the teaching at both at the same time, but it became harder and harder. So it got to the stage I was having to go off sick days at school so I could go and do like shoot a day of doctors or something like that, phoning up saying, "Oh, sorry, I can't come in today. Mr. Halpenny, but your call, please." So it got a bit untenable, and so I stopped doing that, and I went. Now I just do supply teaching, and in the last 8 or 9 years, trying to get back into the acting again, which has been a while. It's been taking a while to get going. Lots of short films, little bits of theatre, and then now finally getting back to bits of TV again. So, a recent episode of Vera, and a few little short, like I said, films. So yeah, so, I mean, I've still got the buzz to do it, and I'm still looking forward to doing more in future. People will have me. You're welcome. Lovely to meet you, Andrew, and talk to you as well, and drag out the memories from almost 30 years ago. Cheers.